Welcome to the pilot episode of Soundcheck, the show where we talk music, culture, and community from the underground. I'm your host, Lucretia McEvil. What you can expect on Soundcheck is the appreciation of all things hardcore and punk. We will have music reviews, music videos, interviews, and show lineups for the future. I'm looking forward to building community with the Soundcheck crew and to continue to keep the word-of-mouth aspect of punk and hardcore alive. I can't be the only one who misses Ask-a-Punk culture. This episode, we are featuring the rise and revival of Oi. Oi is the edgier younger brother to punk rock, focused on working-class struggle. It's got grit, gusto, cojones. An Oi song ain't afraid to be sad, to be grateful of friendship, or a hard job to handle. This episode, I'd like to highlight some up-and-coming Oi acts across the United States that are worth checking out, and some of which who played in New York City recently. I don't want to rate albums on a scale, but just recommend music, venues, and other subcultural things that I dig. So let's dive in. No Time is an Oi band from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Their sound is heavily influenced by old school rock and roll, and I like that they're intentional when they play. They definitely take their time, and it's a welcomed pace in a genre that's usually chugging along speed-wise and wants to be the fastest. No Time has punchy, exciting vocals and a tight band that plays 80s style interludes and breakdowns. They have a great blend of 80s hardcore and the earliest sounds of Oi. My favorite song of theirs is Anxiety Blitz. Here's You'll Get Yours by No Time from their set at TVI last year.
It's a breath for drink, living on your street. Living like that to the freeze on me. But if bro's going, what the fuck? Trigger on sports, gotta cover it up. Your voice has no excuse. Look at yours. Pay you for the come back to you. Look at yours. Motherfucker. Bring you down to run. Time to be paid for the things you've done. Matter of if it's a matter of what. Fucking gets yours in the end. You'll get yours in the end. You're gonna get yours in the end. Remorse, there's no excuse. Pay your brother, come back to you. No remorse, there's no excuse. Pay your brother, come back to you. Thanks.
Castillo is a band that started as a two-man pandemic project that developed into a full-time band. The LA band brings back the flavor of melodic guitars and endearing and earnest vocals and the likes of the Royal Hounds and Ricks. Their rhythms are more on the upbeat and nostalgic wave. My favorite song of theirs is Faded Memories. Here's their music video for Pleasure and Pain from Battle Scarred Records. Violent Way is an Oi band from Buffalo who have solidified themselves as a legitimate Oi act, playing shows with the likes of Agnostic Front. I'm looking forward to seeing them for Vinny Stigma's 70th birthday in December at Irving Plaza. Violent Way reminds me of the Bruisers and other classic American Oi bands, even arguably early Agnostic Front. No frills, great melodies, and catchy lyrics. My favorite song of theirs is It Ain't Right, with All Talk being a close second. Check out Violent Way's video for Bow to None.
Next one is Gal.
Is it the second one, Gal?
Yeah.
It is!
The sycamores on the other side. The people there are so content. It's an easy ride. Think back and remember before they came. Some time ago when we thought everyone the same. A lion statue, houses with names, a vehicle that makes no noise, and conservative games. Where did they come from? Out of the blue. Royal disciples taking power from me and you. Sycamores on the other side. The people there are so content. It's an easy ride. Think back and remember before they came. Some time ago when we thought everyone the same. I know the wealth in the world is not enough to satisfy their appetite for war. I know the wealth in the world is not enough to satisfy their appetite for war.
Have a band you'd like me to review or feature? DM me at lucretia.mcevil with some links.
The assistant principal just called. He says you're promoting Nazi and white power beliefs.
Assistant principal don't know shit.
Well, is it true?
What?
Are you a Nazi?
Do you really have to ask?
Moses, I have been removed. I have seen the spectre, he has been here too. Distant calling from down the line, brand of people who ain't my kind. Oh, there, Moses, I have been removed. I have been deceived. Now the wind has changed direction and I have to leave.
Why are you dressed like a skinhead?
Well, you see, in my mind, I am a skinhead. And skinhead's not about violence and hatred. Skinhead's about having pride in yourself and in your country. You can't have pride in yourself if you hate others. You surely can't have pride in this country if you don't realize that one of the things that makes this nation so great is that people of all different ethnic backgrounds live together under one flag. And that's what Sharp is all about.
Sharp?
Skinheads against racial prejudice.
Dead City from LA played 2 epic shows in New York City on July 11th at the Meadows and a free show on the 12th. The supporting bands are Cruciform, Cartel, Dementia Alcoholica, Kira, Dog Breath, and Asquitos. It was definitely one for the books. Haywire, arguably with the tour of the summer, finally hits New York City on July 29th at the Meadows this week. They were joined by Juicebox, The Stress, and Last Laugh. It was so sweaty in there, but the energy was truly electric. Definitely a highlight of the month. It's been an oil-filled summer with On the Streets Again Fest Volume 3. On July 18th and 19th at the Brooklyn Monarch with Yuta, Crux, Annihilation Time, and loads of other incredible supporting punk and oi bands. There were pre-shows, after-shows, and DJ parties, and I'm still recovering from it. My favorite band I discovered at the fest was Liberty and Justice from Houston, Texas. They were an oi band that wasn't afraid to play ska, use an organ, and to groove. And that's right up my alley. I recommend you check them out and all of the other bands on this lineup.
Justice in our sight, the completion Jesus said.
the first time. Look like it won't be the last. Out of ideas, so you reach for the past. Make it great again, I laugh. Break down, battle line, don't let it be a fad. Fuck the symbolism, we need change, not a token. Fuck ice, I wanna see the border open. If you stand with the black and the brown, abolition is the only mission with power.
Real patriots gotta fight right here. Smash racist, our intentions clear. Making way to stand a war. All that matters is you do. Get a big fascist in the city street. Get a number strong, money in the free. Say it's not American. Fix the system that's broken. That's how it's now. That's always been.
The 19th Annual Anarchist Book Fair is gearing up for the fall, planned for September 11th through the 13th. They are still looking for workshops, vendors, and performers, so reach out if you have something to share. It's a free event to the public, and I usually get all of my zines and books for the year at the anarchist events. Arguably the weirdest show on the list, CBGB Fest is definitely not one to miss, if not only for the lore. Iggy Pop, Cro-Mags, The Damned, Soul Glow, and Murphy's Law, to name a few, will be there. It's a modge podge of alternative musicians this September 27th under the Cave Bridge in Brooklyn. They done gentrified the bridge, y'all. My pick, On the Streets Again 3. Crux is one of my favorite oi bands of all time, and it's an absolute treat to see them in the US. The supporting acts and bands like Known Time, Liberty and Justice, and Claim Choice from France made the ticket worth the cost.
You hear the word skinhead today, what you're most likely to think. Someone with a shaven head who sniffs glue and carries out violent racist attacks. But that's only a very small part of the picture. Unfortunately, violent attacks by extremists who shave their heads attract more press coverage than people who, like me, are skinheads only because we enjoy good music, good clothes, a drink, and a laugh. I'm not saying that skinheads don't have an aggressive sort of style, but that's not the issue. For a start, if you go back to the origins of the cult, original skinhead music came from Jamaica in the form of ska, rocksteady and reggae, and clothes and style were influenced by Jamaican rude boys. Most people associate Bob Marley with his popular reggae hits, but if you're a self-respecting skinhead, you know that the Wailers' early tracks are ska, and to this day artists such as Desmond Dekker, Prince Buster, Nora Dean, John Holt are all skinhead favourites. For a cult to have its roots so involved with black culture, it can't only be made of neo-Nazis. I mean, there's black and Asian skinheads as well as white. People have their own political beliefs, whether they're skinheads or not. Of course the cult has been mixed up with the far right because it's such an aggressive style, but that's not what being a skinhead's all about. There's even been organisations like SHARP, Skinheads Against Racial Prejudice, formed to counteract political extremes and prejudice. There are extreme left skins just as there are extreme right skins. But most skinheads are just sick of hearing about politics altogether. Going to gigs, having a drink and digging out decent clothes are a lot more of a laugh than ranting on about political theory. A shaven head isn't a political statement. Try telling that to our marvellous police force. Recently, on police advice, we've been banned from pubs all over the country. Why us? They don't ban punks, they don't ban psychobillies. There hasn't even been any trouble. The police are supposed to protect the whole community. And we continue to be discriminated against in employment. A crop or a feather cut isn't a political statement. And a shaven head doesn't mean we aren't good, loyal or enthusiastic workers. It's about time people got off our backs. Remember the old saying about not judging a book by its cover? We're just a cult, dedicated to enjoying our music, our clothes and our lifestyle. Is that too much to ask in our so-called liberal society?
This week's Scene Spotlight is for Gaza Mutual Aid. Gaza Mutual Aid Collective is a group of activists and organizers who have walked in solidarity and partnership with the Palestinian people during the genocide of the last 2 years. They help raise and distribute crucial funds and supplies to Gazans while adapting their needs and respecting their dignity and sovereignty. Currently, they are working on raising funds and completing donation campaigns for families in Palestine through GoFundMe and similar channels. If you feel like you are helpless and there's nothing you can do, know that it is untrue. We outnumber the hate and we can help Palestine continue to be resilient against the odds. If you're interested in donating, please send whatever you can to the PayPal Yasmin TM and the Venmos Purple Bubble 02 and Hoop Coalition. Every dollar counts. If you have no funds but still want to support, follow them at Gaza Mutual Aid on Instagram and Substack and help them spread the word. Together, we can have a free Palestine. It's time for Ask a Punk. Ray D asks, what subculture direct actions against Nazis and fascists worked in the past and can work in the future to connect with like-minded individuals and build community? Great question. Resisting fascism can be done in both small and larger actions. In subcultures, something as simple as changing your show to a mutual aid fundraiser for an action you support and want to amplify can make a huge difference. A recent example that comes to mind is the anti-ICE benefit show in Pomona, California that happened a few weeks ago. The local scene has been devastated by the fascist attacks from ICE onto the communities of California. Instead of sitting by on the sidelines, the community came together and raised thousands of dollars for a local immigrant legal defense fund. Shout out to Pomona, California and their hardcore scene for showing us how it's done.
Na na na, yeah. Whoa. All right. Take it, 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 take it. Russia's sparked the fires in 1917. First workers' revolution, first revolution in history. Working people first, the bosses back against the wall. The first step for the better life for all. It's a shame, crying shame, where our past is buried and our victory unnamed. It's a crying shame. Ooh, what a history book, talk of kings and men of fame. And in another country, workers rose again. 1919 in Berlin, but they didn't learn the lessons from the Russians that they should. Revolution, revolution drowned in blood. It's a crying shame, but the lessons stay. It's a crying shame, the lessons stay. All things are possible. Yeah, yeah, take it, take it, take it, take it. Hunger of the 30s, hunger of the 30s back again. And the rich still rich, and the poor the same as they ever were. And it seems to me we're still not learning from our history. Shame. Those who hold the future hold themselves in chains. It's a crying shame. It's a crying shame. Take it, take it, take it, take it, take it. Look to cry, look to Barcelona. Fight against the land and the factory owners. Same fight today against another ruling class. Learn a lesson from your past. Ooh, but the lessons learned. It's a crying shame. But the lessons learned. It's a crying shame. It's a crying shame. But the lessons learned. It can be done again. It can be done again. It can be done again.
Hardcore, punk, and oi, at its very core, is about community and support. And in moments of devastation, this is what it is all for. Subcultures can participate in direct action by making sure our scenes are safe, and that we are supporting each other through difficult times in ways that we all know and love. In the past, Rock Against Racism and similar fests worked to align us, and we can continue to carry the torch. Danny K asks, can radical folks in the punk and hardcore scenes work together across generations to combat fascism? The answer is absolutely. I think it's more about knowing history and feeling empowered to do something. It's also about knowing that you aren't resisting anything in a vacuum alone. Groups like the Anti-Racist Action were first formed out of skin and punk crews that wanted to feel more purpose beyond going to shows and defending their scene from Nazis or harm. They wanted to defend their entire communities. If punks of all ages recognize that we have a common goal and a common enemy, we can learn to put our differences aside for the greater good of all. Or at least I hope so. But this perfectly leads to this week's throwback clip on the ARA. Anti-Racist Action is a decentralized network of far leftists in the United States and Canada. The ARA network originated in the late 1980s to engage in direct action against rival political organizations on the hard right to dissuade them from further involvement in political activities. The network originated among the hardcore and skin scene in Minnesota, among a group known as the Minneapolis Baldies, which had been founded in 1987. The network grew and spread throughout North America. The Midwestern states, particularly in the cities of Minneapolis, Chicago, and Columbus, were the main hotspot for activity, but notable chapters existed in Portland, Los Angeles, Toronto, and elsewhere. Politically, the network has always stated that anti-racism and anti-fascism are its main goals. Here's a clip from Baldies to ARA, directed by Alex Alvarez.
Around the time Ronald Reagan was well into his term as President of the United States, and artists like Duran Duran and U2 were topping the music charts, a group of young neo-Nazi skinheads were infiltrating an area known as Uptown, located in Minneapolis, Minnesota's south side. Uptown wasn't only the epicenter for the area's shopping, entertainment, and culture, but it was also a hangout hub for the city's teenagers.
There's like crazy amounts of Nazi skinheads there. It was scary. It was really scary. And I was, at the time I had like one of my brother's old flight jackets, and I was like one of my boyfriend at the time got beat up just for hanging out with me, and I got like threatened by big skinheads all the time. And it really like made me realize that you just can't you really have to defend your communities from Nazis, because otherwise they take over and make it like, you know, make your city a not safe place to be.
The skinheads were maliciously trying to spread their racist and fascist ideals, whether it was through means of propaganda, physical bullying, or just instilling fear among the impressionable youth. To counteract this right-wing extremity, a crew of teens was formed. They spitefully dubbed themselves the Baldies.
The main principles were about anti-racism, and later that got expanded to include sort of a more general political stance.
The Baldies were the embodiment of anti-racism and quickly reclaimed the Uptown area. The Baldies grew in size with new members, and within time began to spread their no tolerance for racism throughout the city.
The main thrust of it definitely was to organize to fight against the Nazis. And we kicked them out of Minneapolis basically, but we knew that they were reorganizing in St. Paul.
They were never hesitant to take action toward the White Knights, KKK, Nazi skinheads, or any other groups or persons who publicly condoned the detrimental ignorance of racism.
We always did education stuff, put out literature, put on shows, that kind of stuff. But a big part of it was like action, and a whole run a gamut of different stuff, like from confronting Nazi skinheads where they tried to organize, to organizing demonstrations to try and shut down neo-Nazi concerts or their headquarters, to confronting the Ku Klux Klan when they tried to organize.
As the Baldies matured, their fight for what's right was far from over. Neither was the widespread of their movement. The name Baldies was dropped, and a new, more legitimate organization emerged, ARA, Anti-Racist Action.
Like a lot of good things, it started in a pizza parlor. So we had a meeting in this pizza place and talked about the ideas about how we would do it, how we'd organize it, you know, what the name was going to be, and stuff like that, and that's how it started. I guess we had come up with this idea that we needed to get the whole fight against the Nazis and against racism beyond just skinheads. And we wanted to include other people in it and wanted it to be more explicitly political. And so we had a meeting to try and set up something like that. And the initial idea was that it was going to be a coalition, that the Baldies would be one member of it, but we would try and get like this Mental Madness posse to be a part of it, but also maybe like activist groups. Like there's a student organization called PSO, and there was an anarchist group called Rabble, and we'd try and get them to be a part of it as a coalition.
Was there like a political stance in the Baldies?
Most of the Baldies consider themselves left-wing of some kind, though not like necessarily leftist activists, but identified with like radical lyrics from hip-hop and oi and ska and hardcore and punk, and so in that sense. And a lot of Baldies were part of like the militant demonstrations against the war or against U.S. military action in Central America and stuff like that. But the main thing of it was pretty focused in the scene, and so the politics were a lot around the scene and around, especially at first, the Nazis and standing up to them. And they kind of, we tried to set up sort of a code in the scene where people not only expected not to be Nazis, but also not to hang out with Nazis. We tried to make that a big code to isolate them within the scene. And the Baldies were already doing this when I became one. But I remember real vividly this guy named Jason, who's American Indian and was one of the main Baldies. And another guy, I think my cousin Hugh, confronting this Nazi who'd come uptown by himself, this kid that was a white knight. And they basically had set up a policy of anytime they saw one of these Nazis, they'd confront him and ask him if he was a white knight. And then they'd tell him, the next time we see you, if you're still a white knight, you're going to get your ass kicked. And it actually was a really effective policy because it sort of gave people a moment to think about it and weigh how committed they were to this thing. And it also sort of set boundaries too, like, people realized they weren't going to be able to come uptown or they weren't going to be able to go to First Avenue, which were like the two big youth hangouts, like alternative scene hangouts or whatever. So a bunch of them actually quit, and some of them even became Baldies, and it caused the white knights to fall apart, with only a few fights, really.
There was a lot of stuff out of the hardcore scene where there was anti-racist skinheads and Nazi skinheads. And there was a lot of press around the Nazi skinheads, especially in the late 80s. And so there's similar parallels, I think, in similar scenes in different cities where there was, for whatever reason, there was a concentrated effort, I think, on the part of the more formalized right-wing fascists to organize in hardcore scenes. And so there was a very, very similar anti-racist skinhead movement starting to combat this large, growing fascist movement that was happening in the hardcore scene, and kids just not wanting the scene to be taken over by fascists.
That's our time so far, folks, and thank you for joining me for the first episode of Soundcheck. I'd like to thank MNN, the bands I mentioned, and you for watching. So, what do you want to highlight next? Should we do femme-fronted bands, all bands of color, hardcore punk? Let's get crazy. Leave a comment below. Peace. Thanks for watching the first episode of Soundcheck. I worked really hard on this. Want to give a quick shout out to MNN for giving me the opportunity to do this here and believing in my crazy dream of bringing back punk to public access. I want to thank all my friends here who helped as well, and all my friends who I know will be watching.